Hello everyone. Today we will discuss about the SDN. And what is SDN? SDN is a software defined network. So what it represents? It is basically networking architecture, and it enables the control and management of the network using software applications. Through SDN networking behavior, entire network and its devices can be programmed centrally. So it provides central control over a network. So to understand software defined network, we need to understand the various planes involved in the networking. So before going to the details of software defined network, first we have to understand what is the different planes involved in the networking. So there are two planes involved in the networking. One is the data plane and another one is the control plane. So what is data plane? So data plane involves all the activity in which data packets are involved or as a result. Actually, you can take example, forwarding of packets, segmentation and reassembly of data, replication of packets for the multicasting. In all these three, end users are involved. Packets sent by end user is involved. So if the information or if the packets sent by end user is involved, so all activity in which packets sent by end user involved included in the data plane. So it is direct associated with the packet sent by the end user. All the activity associated with the packet sent by end user. And in control panel, what are the activities which are included in the control panel? It includes making of routing tables, setting packet, handling policies. These type of tasks included in the control panel. And control panel involves all the activities which are necessary to perform data plane activity, but do not involve end user data packets belong to this plane. So it doesn't involve end user data packets, but it is the brain of the network. It is the main part of the network. So SDN work on these plane, data plane and control plane. Here you can see this is the pool of application server, and these are data plane includes different switches, and this control plane include SDN controller, or from here it control different applications. So this diagram is showing the software defined network. So basically software defining network consists of three main components: SDN applications, SDN controllers, and SDN networking devices. And SDN applications relay request or network through the SDN controller using the API. So it generate request using controller, SDN controller. And what is SDN controller? SDN controller collect the information from the hardware. Basically, this is the interface, and it is collecting information from the hardware and send that information to the application part. And the last one is SDN networking devices. And these networking devices help in forwarding and data processing tasks. Whichever data is data pack, it helps in forwarding of data packets and data processing tasks. This is the block diagram of SDN architecture. It has three layers: infrastructure layer, control layer, and application. Infrastructure layer includes different switches, different physical devices, or we have discussed data plane. So data plane include in this infrastructure layer. Now next there is a control layer. Control layer, basically SDN controller is a part of this control layer which is responsible for the communication, and this is the main part of the SDN architecture. Actually this is the brain of the network. And third one is the application layer, and it includes routing, load balancing, all these tasks. And it contains typical network applications like intrusion detection, firewall, and load balancing, etc. And the layers communicated. Here you can see one more thing, southbound API and northbound API. What does it mean? There are three layers: infrastructure, control, and application. Here you can see there are three layers: infrastructure layer, control layer, and application layer. And infrastructure layer consists of physical switches and data planes and involved in the activity associated with the data planes. This is the SDN controller, main part of the SDN network, and this is the application layer, involves in different network applications, and these are connected with this APIs. So northbound and southbound. So northbound APIs means what does it mean? Here you can see the arrow, this bidirectional arrow. So what does it indicate? There is a communication. So there is a communication between application layer and this control layer with the help of this northbound API. This is the interface between these two. And southbound API is the interface between these two, control layer and the infrastructure layer. So it help in, so with this API, this control layer and infrastructure layer will communicate with each other. So this is all about the SDN architecture. Now next, what is the difference between SDN? Is basically network architecture approach. So what is the difference between these two? So software defined networking is basically a virtual networking approach, whereas uh, traditional networking is old conventional networking approach. And software defined network is a centralized control. There is a provision of SDN controller, whereas in case of traditional, this is not possible. That is, there is a distributed control in the traditional networking approach. And SDN network is programmable, whereas a traditional one is not programmable. And SDN is the open interface, and traditional network is a closed interface. In software network, data plane and control plane, there are two plane, or we can say the plane is decoupled by the software, whereas in case of traditional network, data plane and control plane are mounted on the same plane. There is a no difference, no much difference between these two planes in case of traditional network approach. So this is all about the SDN network, and in next lecture we will see the architecture with more detail. Here you can see the diagram. With diagram it is more clear to you. You can see in the software defined network, this is the control panel, and these are the different data planes. 1, 2, 3. These are the different data planes which are actually, we are actually handling the packets or information or from the end user, and then the data sent to control plane, and this control plane control this. But in case of traditional, you can see both are, there is no much here no controlling approach is present in the traditional approach. So with this, I end this. Thank you and have a nice day ahead.